Are you a technician who wants to set yourself apart? Then the Trusted Technician podcast is for you. I'm Derek Hoferter, coach and trainer at SBE, and on this podcast, we will have experienced HVAC coaches and trainers, as well as top-performing technicians, all sharing their tips and strategies to help you be more successful. Welcome back to another episode of the Trusted Technician podcast. I'm Coach Derek here at SBE, and today's guest is Chad. Chad's with HVAC Comfort in Michigan. Chad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Excited to have you on here today. Chad, before we kind of get into it, just so everyone knows a little bit more about you, how did you get into being a technician and how did you get into HVAC?
Well, I've actually been with the company and my boss, Greg, for 25 years.
Wow.
Started working for him when I was 17, just through a buddy who was working with him. So, yeah, and I stayed in install for so long. I stayed in install for almost 20 years. And then, just in the last couple of years, switched over to service. So,
okay.
yeah.
So just been a tech for the last.
Well, I didn't have to deal with customers so much on install. It was, hi, how you doing? And this is how it works when I'm done. But yeah, so that's new in the last couple of years, but I'm not breaking my back anymore. So that's important.
Yeah, that's nice. What do you enjoy the most now about doing service and being a technician?
Yeah, I mean, probably just, helping people out and, you're the hero and you fix their heat and, they're sitting there cold. But yeah, I mean, probably just that, just, helping customers out and doing my job.
What do you find to be the most challenging aspect of it?
There's always the instances of, being crammed in an attic or something fun like that. So that was just a couple of days ago. I was in a fun one, but that comes with the territory for sure.
Yeah, that's so true. And Chad, something that I'm really curious to hear about you from is, kind of talking about 2023 to 2024. And, you said you've just been running calls now for a few years, but 2023, I think, was kind of like your full year, kind of tracking things and, in the program. And then you're telling me about, the revenue that you did in 2023. And then compared to the year you just had in 2024, you like more than doubled your revenue. Just talk to me a little bit about kind of why, how, what you've learned kind of between those 2 years.
Basically, I mean, the old way of doing things was, features and benefits and educating the customer. And I mean, you want to look as smart as you can. And so you look like you know what you're talking about. So, when we started SBE, like this, the seagull in the painting was like one of the hugest, like, eye openers for me. I mean, because that's all we did, was just, tell them what you think they need and all this stuff. So to start actually hearing from them what they want and their needs and stuff like that, I mean, that was huge. But, that first year, I kind of took some things that I liked. I'm like, okay, that's good, that's good. And a couple of things I'm like, that's, I don't like that. So I was kind of like half in at that point.
As it relates to like completely following an A to Z process. You're like, I like A and B, but I don't like C. D's fine, maybe not E, F, G. That's kind of like
Right,
what your
exactly.
approach was to it.
Yeah, so, doing half of the stuff and half of the stuff that I've been doing for so long, it was an improvement a little bit, but yeah, I mean, to get from 23 to 24, from 500,000 to 1 million, was 24. I actually started doing the whole process, every bit of it. So
Yeah.
huge difference.
Yeah, we can see that it made a huge difference just looking at your like numbers and everything, right? The numbers don't lie, they tell the story. And so I know for 24, you set a goal of doing 1 million in revenue and you hit it. You just made it. And like I said, that was more than double the year before. Talk to me. You were sharing with me that at the end of 23, you were just kind of a little short of kind of being able to like get an award and get recognized, and you watched everyone else. Tell me a little bit about that and kind of what you were thinking and how that set you up for 24.
Yeah, I think I was 12 grand short of hitting the 500,000. I was pretty tempted to buy a furnace and AC through my company. So yeah, we went to the conference in Phoenix and got to see everyone go up on stage, and it kind of bugged me that I wasn't one of them. So that was definitely motivation going forward. I didn't want to sit there again and watch everyone else get recognized. So that's, 24. It's like, all right, well, let's stick to the plan here, the entire process. And I mean, every little bit of it is just super important.
Yeah, if a process is really only a process if it includes everything, right? Versus bits and pieces with your bits and pieces, that's a whole different. That's the Chad process, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, so I think this is maybe something that happens, and I know now you're kind of in a position there at your company where you're helping newer techs learn the process and run the process. So do you see this with other techs where it's kind of like every tech kind of creates their own little version of a process, and that can kind of lead to issues?
Yeah, it's just funny because I mean, the smallest little things like asking the customer, can I get you something from the store? I mean, I know a couple of guys here don't really love that, but I've had such good experience with that. People are laughing, I mean, before you even meet them, and it's huge, just that little thing. And then, so I was leaving that out and other stuff. Once I started doing the whole thing, it, really started working well.
Yeah, part of your success, I think, has been the ability to be really productive on maintenance visits. So kind of before getting into, we keep talking about like the process, right? Which is like the training and everything that you're going through, all the skills and everything. Kind of before really absorbing all of that, talk to me a little bit about how you viewed maybe a maintenance visit, or was there a change not only in a process but also in how you viewed them? Or talk to me a little bit about like your beliefs and the mental side of it too.
Yeah, in 23, I mean, it was the worst when you got pulled up your call and it's a 2-year-old R install. You think, well, what the heck? There's no opportunity there. And, that was a huge thing that we got from Texas. Like the list, however many techs were in the room, 15, 20, and they're like, what's your opportunity on a 2-year-old system? And it's like 20, 25 things. So,
Mhm.
I mean, the attitude going into one of those before with like, oh crap, there's nothing here. But I mean, there's so much, and it's super important for the customer to take care of these things if they want, their brand new system they paid a lot of money for to last. So,
Yeah. Well, if a customer is getting a maintenance plan and they want you to come into their house in a proactive manner, right? When there's no emergency going on, like there's there's some level of expectation there that something's going to happen on, on that visit. So I think sometimes that's like a little bit of a disconnect of maybe between the tech and the, yeah, we've got techs who are thinking, man, there's nothing here. Why am I doing this? This is a waste of time. And the homeowner is like, no, I paid for this. I want you to do something and look at my system. And that's what you're experiencing now, right? Is that the homeowners do have a bit of a investment level. That's why they're having you come and do a maintenance. Is that kind of what you're experiencing?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, that was probably one of the things that was hard at first. Like, I mean, to walk into a customer's house, and their system is 2 years old, and you ask them, how long do you want this to last? I mean, some of them shoot you a really funny look, but I mean, yeah, you got to think about that stuff. I mean, you just paid a lot of money for it. It could last 8 years, 10 years. What are you looking for here?
Yeah. Well, I would think that the person who has the 2-year-old system or the 1-year-old system or the 6-month-old system, that's a really concerning thing for them. They just went through the pain of what happens, when a system breaks down, and maybe they just went through the pain too of some regret of, I wish I would have done more, or I wish I would have done a better job or something like that on the previous system. So they're closest to that pain point when they're there at the 1 or the 2-year olds versus if it's 8, 9, 10 years old, they're very far removed from
Right.
that pain point. So yeah, I understand, for a lot of techs, they're like, you want me to ask somebody with a 1-year-old system? They're really close to that pain point. It's a very valid question.
Yeah, that was probably one of the things I definitely left out when I first started. Like, I'm not going to ask them this, they just bought it. Of course, they want it to last a long time. But that really puts it into perspective when you bring them, a dirty coil. How long do you want your 2-year-old furnace to last while it's overheating underneath a filthy coil and, ductwork and whatever else?
Yeah, is that kind of what you're experiencing, that homeowners don't realize how much can change in a year or two? of a brand new system. They're just not even thinking that in their mind it should still be like factory perfect, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's funny in their mind, and that was one thing we started hearing in SBE was, if it's 1 to 5, they say it's brand new. If it's 5 to 10, they say it's brand new. I actually had a guy with a 24-year-old system telling me that I just had that put in. I'm like, it's a 2001. He's
Yeah,
like, oh
in this
man, time
century.
flies.
Yeah, in this century you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Let's get into it just a little bit because there's probably a lot of technicians who are listening to this who maybe were in that same mindset before. So what are the opportunities on a 2-year-old system?
Dirty duct work, the dirty coil, the dirty blower, IAQ stuff, surge protection. Yeah, the list is long. There's a ton.
Yeah, let's talk about ductwork for a second because I know that's something that contributed to your success of 23 to 24 was the additional ability to do that, right? Take a look at their ductwork and offer a solution to them. Who in your experience is the customer most likely to want to have their ducts cleaned? Is it the 2-year-old system? Is it the 20-year-old system? Is it a mixture? Like who is kind of thinking about that maybe the most?
If it's a 2-year-old or a 20-year-old, I'd say it's probably a mixture. I mean, if we're at a 2-year-old system and it's running hot because the coil's dirty, the blower's dirty, obviously it's picking up a lot of that from the ductwork. They're pretty likely to want to get that taken care of. And I mean, same thing with a 20-year-old. If they're, trying to squeeze another year or two out of it, I mean, that's super important to that thing working as it should.
Yeah, and is that part of the conversation with the homeowner about this of how the piece of the puzzle that is the ductwork? Because I think for a lot of techs, it's just my experience with having trained so many techs over the years. It can oftentimes get very like system focused, like the furnace focused or heat pump focused and condenser focused versus like whole house focused. And a lot of times then the customers too are very like equipment focused. How do you bridge this conversation or help have the homeowner understand the idea of like the house is like a whole system, almost like a body type of thing? Like how do you get them to understand how the ductwork plays into this whole equation?
Just as I mean, run through it in SBE, we started using videos too, so that's helpful.
The videos, yeah.
The videos and the report cards. So that's been super helpful. But yeah, I mean, little by little, I just wanted to send you this video of your coil. It's definitely got some buildup on it. I'm gonna try and get back to it and see if I can figure out where it's coming from. And it's gonna lead to, a dirty blower. And all right, I think I figured out where this is coming from, the duct work. And then, I mean, that's when you
Mm,
want to have a conversation. How's dust in the house, allergies, and see if it's a concern for them.
okay, so it's just you're saying, little by little, just kind of giving them visual evidence through the videos, through conversations of just how everything is connected together. So if you're seeing, maybe it starts with the homeowner's just aware that, man, it seems like I change this filter all the time, or just things like that, and then it made it to the coils. It's made it here. You're just being thorough with them and showing them kind of everything that's going on. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, just piece by piece, what we're seeing on our inspections and the maintenance. So, presenting it to them as we find it.
How does that compare to your approach that maybe you had before this process? Was it like if you were on a maintenance, you're on a call, was it just kind of like a, homeowner, everything, whatever, no problems today, I'll see you next time? Or like how much of a difference is that from maybe what you originally were doing?
Originally, I would say I would just do my thing, the cleaning, still get pictures and everything, and then just hit them all with all of everything at the end, which would probably be pretty overwhelming. So then they're like, okay, but to work it little by little, so they're starting to see what's going on in their system was better than just slamming it on them all at once.
This is really important, and I want to make sure everyone listening understands how important this is. So what you're saying there, kind of the traditional way that a lot of people operate is do your thing, do the visit, get to the end, get the customer, and be like, okay, here's Bob 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, just kind of hit them with a lot of info at the end.
Right.
Right. And what you're saying instead, what's led, to having better outcomes is it's an ongoing conversation, ideally, throughout the call. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Right. Conversations throughout the process and uncovering pain or concerns or whatever it is, allergies along the way. Yeah, I mean, when you dump it on them all at the end, they're usually just overwhelmed and okay, well, yeah, send me a quote and think about it.
Well, he'll think about it. Yeah, right.
Uh,
Yeah. And I'm sure that feeling that they have when everything kind of gets just put on them at the end is, they're thinking, wait, I didn't even know I had an issue. Right. Like that's how far behind they are in the whole deal. And so I think with that piece by piece approach, it's, hey, have you ever noticed this? Let me see what's going on. All right, right, where they're kind of on this journey of, oh wait, what did you find? So they're maybe just even like psychologically prepared to being on the same page with you of, yeah, there actually are things going on. Maybe you can figure out versus that dumping of things is not just here's everything I found. It's also, oh, by the way, you have some problems. So they're processing so many things at once. So many technicians do this, I think, not even realizing the pain that puts on somebody. Have you sort of noticed that as well? Just kind of like just overall, just a different response from people.
well, yeah, I mean, hitting them with everything at the end and you haven't, built any sort of relationship or trust along the way. And it's just, I mean, your chances are slim. So just going through slowly and showing them that you care about their system. You want it to last a long time too, and just being there to help them out and achieve their goals for their system, whether it's squeak another year out or last 20 years on their new one.
Yeah, that's so true because that's another piece of it where if you wait until the end and then just hit them with everything, they're also thinking, I don't even know if I trust you. Like, and then that's just kind of like a mental, yeah. And then there was a tech on this podcast maybe a year or two ago who said the confused mind will always say no. 'Cause it's safer to say no if there's any confusion or any doubt or anything like that. It's safer to say no to things. So I really love everything that you're saying about follow the process. There's a reason behind it, piece by piece, go through. Well, Chad, I know, you're taking time out of your day. You've got customers to help and things to do today. Before I let you go, any kind of last thing that you want to share with the technicians that are listening to this or anything else you just want to add to our conversation?
Yeah, I mean, just as I said earlier, if there's anyone listening who's just starting out and kind of doing like I did, I mean, luckily for the guys we're training now, I mean, they have me and our other tech who's doing really well to kind of see the proof. But yeah, don't do what I did and just, take the little parts. I mean, the process definitely works and it shows when you stick to it.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see you up on the stage, getting a nice award coming up soon. Chad, thanks so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Trusted Technician Podcast. If you would like to learn more about SBE, you can find us online at sbeodyssey.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would appreciate it if you would leave us a review. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.